Bethesda haven't announced a successor to Skyrim yet, so it's probable that we won't see the next game in the Elder Scrolls series for another couple of years at the very least. However, there are plenty of cool alternatives to the Elder Scrolls, and in this video I'm going to talk about an upcoming game that could divert your attention and keep you interested in the meantime before the release of the Elder Scrolls 6. Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord has been a game that I've been avidly following for the past couple of years now, and the Mount & Blade community are optimistic that Bannerlord will be released within the next 2 years, although there still hasn't been any official news from the developers Tale Worlds. In this video I'm going to be going over all the news, gameplay and features of the game, and in general why you should be bothered about potentially picking it up when it's released, as an alternative to sullenly waiting for the release of the Elder Scrolls 6. So in general, what is the game about? It's a fictional, medieval, open-world RPG game in which the player assembles their own band of followers and conquers Kynareths, the land in which the game is set. The game is unique in that it features a real-time strategic element alongside participation in the world map. The player can engage in sieges and battles on the world map, and then act as a commander in the ensuing battles, whilst actually participating in that battle as an on-the-ground general. Mount & Blade Warband, the predecessor to Bannerlord, has proved wildly successful among RPG fans for its combination of strategic and RPG elements. In fact, on Steam the game has 98% positive reviews. So it's pretty likely that Bannerlord is going to be just as successful, if not more so, than its predecessor. So without further ado, here's the rundown of all you need to know about Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord. The game is set 200 years before Mount & Blade Warband, taking place during the decline of the Kynareths Empire and the formation of the kingdoms that appear in previous games. The Kynareths Empire and its downfall are similar to the fall of the Roman Empire and the formation of the early Middle Eastern, North African and European kingdoms. Whilst there are 6 major kingdoms within the game, there are actually 8 factions from which to choose from. The kingdoms include the Kynareths Empire, the faction the player starts off in, the Velandians, the Sturgians, the Avarti, the Kynareths and the Battanians. Within the kingdoms, Tale Worlds have mentioned there will be vying clans and factions, and it's known there will be 3 factions within the Empire that are currently fighting each other for the Imperial thrones. This is a dynamic not present in previous games, and makes the politics within the game that much more intriguing. So I'm going to go into more detail about the kingdoms so you can get a good gist for what they stand for and what they're like in general. The Kynareths Empire, or what's left of it, lies at the centre of the in-game map and, as mentioned before, is currently engaged in civil war, having been split between the north, south and west. The Empire is very much like the Roman Empire and makes use of advanced tactics involving cataphracts, a form of heavy cavalry, and spearmen in particular. Despite not being the strong force it once was, the Empire's military still remains one of the strongest of Kynareths' kingdoms. To the northeast of the Empire lies Kynareths, a steppe kingdom who favour deadly, fast-moving horse archers to any other type of unit. The Kynareths are the progenitors to what would later become to be known as the Kyrgyz Khanate in Mount & Blade Warband. Similarly, a steppe kingdom. Of all the real-world kingdoms of antiquity, the Kynareths resemble the Mongols the most. To the north of the Empire and the west of the Kynareths are the Sturgians, the northernmost faction. The Sturgians are traders and adventurers who have an excellent shield wall formation and field some of the best heavy infantry in the game. It's unknown who the Sturgians are actually the precursors for in Mount & Blade Warband, since although they occupy the realm of the contemporary Nords, who are basically Vikings, the Sturgians don't actually hail from Nordland, where the Nords originally come from. To the south of Sturgia and to the west of the Empire is Battania, a dense woodland kingdom. The inhabitants of this land are expert ambushers who specialise in forest warfare and longbowmen. Again, it's unknown which kingdom the Kingdom of Battania is the precursor of, though it could well be the Vaegirs. On the westernmost side of the map is the expansive kingdom of Velandia, which specialises in heavy cavalry, wielding lances and swords. It's speculated that this kingdom is the progenitor of the Rhodoks, a kingdom of hillmen in Mount & Blade Warband. It's not known what the terrain will be like in this part of the kingdom, but it's likely it will be a mixture of mountains, valleys and plains. To the deep, deep south lies Asarai. We know the least of this desert kingdom and its people, but from what we do know they specialise in fast-moving, medium cavalry with spears. It appears that this civilization is the predecessor to the Saronids, who are reminiscent of the Islamic caliphates of the ancient Middle East. It's likely that the Asarai will be much the same. So those are the factions you can play as within Bannerlord as far as we know, but let's talk a little more about the gameplay. I'm not going to be going into tremendous detail here, but I will give an overview of some of the more salient points about gameplay I haven't covered yet. Firstly, there are quests you can undertake relevant to whatever faction you've joined, and doing good deeds and quests for said faction will earn you influence, which will allow you to influence important decisions within the faction. The more influence you get, the higher up the ranks you climb. In addition, influence can be spent on summoning great armies. You can use it to convince other lords to join you. It's not as simple as that though. In summoning a great army, you have to maintain the morale of both the lords and the troops and keep them well fed. Maintaining an army can be just as hard as any siege. Morale and diplomacy play a large part in Mount & Blade. In controlling a faction, be it one you've created, one you've slowly taken over, morale and politics play a key role. It's important to keep up the morale of lords so they fight alongside you in battle and don't rebel. Equally, marrying the correct suitor is important in securing the most powerful alliance that you can. Rewarding lords for their service is also important. If one lord is allowed to own a disproportionate number of settlements, other lords are likely to feel a little bit resentful. Obviously, the gameplay mechanics I've presented here aren't all of them, they're just a few of the more interesting ones I've picked out. Hopefully you've been paying attention to the gameplay in the background as well, since there's loads of stuff I haven't mentioned that's featured in that. To finish, I just want to mention that I've spent a monumental amount of time in both the world of Mount & Blade and that of the Elder Scrolls. I can only speculate on the thousands of hours I must have spent on the various Elder Scrolls titles overall, but I do know that I've spent close to 800 hours playing Mount & Blade according to my Steam, so I feel like I'm in a pretty good position to say that whilst each series isn't even that remotely similar in some ways, Mount & Blade offers a new, unique, interesting alternative to the Elder Scrolls, an alternative that I really enjoyed and that I think others would enjoy too, so that's why I'm sharing the next game in the series with you now. As I mentioned, the Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be a way away yet, but Bannerlord looks as if it will get released in the very near future, so rather than lamenting the lack of Elder Scrolls content, get hyped about Bannerlord and eagerly await its release like me, if it's what you're into. It's bound to be an amazing game in its own right, and it will divert your attention, if but a while, from the Elder Scrolls 6. I'll include links to the Tellworld's website and articles or videos about the game in the description, so feel free to check them out for some more details on the game and find out about it for yourself. Anyway guys, thanks for watching this video and I'll see you in the next one.